Are you in search of your perfect cup of coffee at home? Do you crave a fresh cup of joe from the comfort of your own kitchen? Well, look no further because Black Sun Coffee is here to help. The medium roast from Black Sun Coffee features notes of Brazil nut, grapefruit, and oak. The freshness is guaranteed to start your day off right. Go to blacksuncoffee.com, that's BLVCK, and use the promo code CONFIDENCE20 for 20% off your next purchase.
The Confidence Factor. The Confidence Factor.
I think we can all agree that feeling comfortable in one's own skin is an integral component to being confident, but I don't think it's as easy as most people would assume it to be. How many times have we heard about someone who presents as confident but are actually dying on the inside? Getting to the place where one is comfortable being who they really are is hard work, and most never get all the way there. I'm reminded of this part of a passage by Mary Ann Williamson. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. She also says, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I'm choosing to pretend that this quote was written with today's guest in mind. Let's listen in as he shares his journey.
The Confidence Factor.
I don't even know what to say about today's guest. One could say he's the reason I'm sitting in this chair right now. But officially, today's guest is a motivational speaker, rapper, educator, and mental health advocate who has traveled across the country empowering others to step into their purpose, take control of their stories, heal, and live a quality lifestyle built for success. He's also a sneaker aficionado. He is the originator of the term Shawsome. He is the Abed to my Troy and Harper's godfather, the one and only Josué JQ Quiñones. Yay! Or yay! Is what I should do. Yay!
I feel like that's got to be in the background. I feel like that just
it's like a sound effect, like boom, yay!
Yes.
So welcome.
Wow, thank you. I love
twinning,
that intro, by the way.
of course, you know.
Yes, twinning. As
usual,
always.
Right?
Yeah,
it just happens.
It's Troy Abed.
I'm telling you. So cool. So yeah.
This is exciting, friend. I just got to start by saying that. This is amazing.
Okay.
So thank you, and I'm honored.
Likewise. So how do we know each other?
So the first time I actually remember meeting you, I don't know if you remember this, but it was with Tanya. I was working summer program for EOP at Bing, and I was supposed to, I think, start as an RD that August. And I think you were at training. You may have been in training. You were somewhere, and Tanya met up with you and was like, oh, this is Leah. She's the one that's going to be your supervisor. And I was terrified. I was like, So that's how we first met, but how we know each other is that you were my supervisor. My first 3 years.
Was that after I interviewed you? Because I interviewed you. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it had to.
I scared you in the interview too, didn't I? A little bit.
Yeah, but I didn't really know who you were then.
Sure.
Like the first time I feel like I met you was
with Tanya,
because she actually introduced. That time I was just like, there's all these people. I don't know none of y'all names.
Gotcha.
I just know that y'all interviewing me. I don't know none of y'all.
Gotcha.
But y'all interviewing me.
Got it.
So that's how we know each other. Is you were actually my supervisor in my first full-on professional role, which was as a resident director. And we just now have developed into this beautiful blossoming friendship.
Yes.
We family at this point.
Might as well be. As well be. So, you know why we're here. You know what we're talking about. And you know how, well, I don't know if I shared, like, this was kind of born out of my dissertation topic. And I just had so much fun interviewing these women that I just felt like there were more stories to be told. And so I just wanted to keep the conversation going. So, we're talking about confidence. And so the first question I have to ask you is, how do you define confidence?
It's changed over time, but the way that I define it now is more so, it's tied to faith. I can't escape that. I feel like before I wouldn't say that, but I think now I'm at a place where it's tied to faith. For me, confidence is faith in oneself, faith in something. I think trust is a part of that too. And I also think that fear is in there, but it's not the most important piece. Because I used to think that confidence was the absence of fear. And I don't think that I believe that anymore. I think fear can still be present, but you still move forward with it in faith that, what will happen, what will transpire, what will be end result is the opposite of what you fear. So you still have it, but you go forth anyway. That's I would say that's what confidence is. It's the faith and trust that what you hope for, what you expect is going to happen, even if there is some fear that it could not happen.
So how did you arrive at this definition of confidence? What's the journey?
Really my own life experience. And I think I credit you a lot. And I'll just go right ahead and say it. I credit you a lot for it because we gotta keep it real. I just gotta keep it real. Authenticity, right? Yeah. But yeah, because when I first started as an RD, I never saw myself as confident. And sometimes I'll be honest, I don't always still see myself as confident. But I really heavily doubted myself in that role. I was never an RA. I didn't have the slightest idea of what being in residential life at a college was like, other than having lived in a residence hall, which that's a different story. But But so I was, afraid. I was like, I don't know how good I'm gonna be at this job. I don't know if I'm gonna do very well at this job. And I did it anyway, and I had support from you. And I think you helped to recognize where some of my strengths were, and you helped push me to challenge myself in some areas where I did second guess and I did doubt. And so, that's why I say that the fear piece is still part of it, because I was still afraid of certain things. Like I even remember when I decided to be the chair for one of the committees, like I was terrified of that, but I was like, I gotta do it. Like I have to do it, because if I want to be better prepared for the next opportunity that I might encounter, I gotta just go forth anyway, and even while I was in that journey, I was still fearful. I was still unsure. But I kept going and I kept going. And so, just having jumped at professional opportunities and even life opportunities now with the transition that I made away from Binghamton and the university that I knew, and taking a part-time job to now do other things, like there was some fear there, but I had to just trust, and have faith that what I hoped for, what I asked for will transpire even in the midst of that fear. And so here I am now, 3 years out of RD life, 3 years out of an academic counseling role that I dreamed of once upon a time. And now, pursuing another dream that I'm hopeful will materialize into all the things that I envision.
So I'm going to
still a little scared.
I'm going to pick a little bit
go ahead.
here. I'm gonna define your life-defining moment for you.
Okay.
Because I think we have talked a lot about life post Binghamton, the wonderful Binghamton University, State University of New York. Because you
shout out to them.
Yep. Well, that's how we met, so definitely.
Right.
But you were an undergraduate student there. You were a graduate student there. then you worked
Yeah.
there for a number of years. And so it was definitely a very large and significant part of who you were comfortable, all of those things. So the decision to leave, I'm sure, was not a small one
No.
for you.
No,
Well, I know
not
it
at
wasn't
all.
a small one for you. So, and I feel like knowing you, and you like, I mean, who doesn't like being in positions where they are comfortable? But moving outside of your comfort zone is a big thing for you, because you like your box. You
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
so
do. Hmm.
I feel so that was a big step for you. So knowing that, how would you describe JQ before that? Because I also feel like that is, there's fear there, but there's faith there as well,
Yeah.
which feeds into kind of your definition of confidence. So
Hmm.
how would you have described yourself before that moment? And then how would you describe yourself now that you've made
That's
that
great.
transition?
That's great. So as I hear that question, I go all the way back to undergrad. I go all the way back to even before grad school, and I was
Let's go
nowhere
there.
near. I was
Let's go
nowhere
there.
near. Yeah, I was nowhere near
Mm-hmm.
who I am and how I am now. Then, and there's still pieces of that I'm working through, but
Mm-hmm.
I was scared,
Mm-hmm.
and when I say scared, it was like I would not budge from my box.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if I'm being fully 100% transparent, I often sought others to define what the box was.
Mm.
So it was a lot of, and I still do this now, and I got to work through it. And that's why I'm going to therapy once a week. I have no shame in that. But I constantly looked for others to help define who I would be, right? Like, what do you expect? What do you want? What would you like? If I do this, are you going to like me? If I do this, are you going to push me away? Are you going to cut me off? Are you going to, think negative things about me? Whatever the case may be. So I operated from that, and I didn't fully know who I was. And so I didn't have confidence. I was always afraid and second guessed any decision, any choice I made, because I was afraid that I'd either be letting somebody down, that I wasn't good at it, I wasn't good enough at it, or if it really was who I believed myself to be. That's who I was in undergrad. I was lost, searching for myself, and allowing a lot of the times other people or images to define who I was, and influence my choices, my decisions. And that's what led me to make decisions like deciding to hustle in college, and all kinds of poor choices, which I don't necessarily regret. But I recognize that those were the decisions and the choices of someone still trying to find themselves, and so that's who I was in undergrad. And I think, realizing that wasn't who I was, it really wasn't who I pictured myself to be in the future. I had to make a change, and I started to really dig into, like, who am I? What do I gravitate towards? What actually interests me? And that's when I started to really think about people, right? I was always interested. I mean, it's interesting. I'm making this connection now, right? But, like, I always sought to understand, like, what do you expect? What do you want? What would you appreciate? What would you accept, right? And so trying to understand what people want, I was just interested in people. I was interested in understanding how people think, why they think that way. And so that's what led me to pursue human development and social work, and then wanting to be a counselor, because I also, in studying that, it helped me realize stuff about myself that I hadn't realized, and so I wanted to be able to be a conduit for other people to dig into themselves and understand themselves and their context and how that influences their thinking and their decisions. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going off the rails, but yeah. So I was very much a shy, quiet, timid, fearful kid, and I always say this too. I was when it was time to do when it was time to do presentations in class, if I had a piece of paper or something in my hand would be shaking. Like you could hear the paper shaking because that's how scared I was being in front of the room. And I say till this day, but I was the kid that all throughout elementary school, high school, undergrad, and grad school would not participate in class. I would not for the life of me ever raise my hand to answer a question, to ask a question. I sit there. And if I didn't get it, maybe I ask somebody else, or I try to figure it out on my own. Or, I never forget one moment in grad school. Like I was in small groups. I was good in small groups. It was like 3, 4, 5 of us talking in a group. I could contribute, no problem. But as soon as it got open to the larger group, I was like, nah, I ain't saying nothing. Like I'm good.
I've seen that in action.
Yeah, because I still do it to this day sometimes. It takes a lot for me to really muster up the courage to speak in front of a large group, which sounds counterintuitive or opposite of what I do as an entrepreneur now. But it's the truth. And I remember in grad school, we were having a small group discussion in one of my classes, and I'm contributing, I'm talking, I'm giving my input. And as soon as they open it up to the large group, I'm quiet. One of my group mates raises their hand. So I'm like, yeah, all right, cool. She gonna talk for the group. Cool. So the professor calls on her and she's like, yeah, I'm just raising my hand for Josué because I know he's not gonna raise his hand and share what he said in our group. So I'm raising it for him. And I was like, and the professor looked and was like, so what did you contribute? And I was like upset, but also like, dang, I can't even blame her because I was like very involved in our small group. And so that's who I was. And there's still parts of that I still have and I'm working through, but very much shy, timid. And now I'm more, it still takes some work and some wrestling to get myself to like voice myself. I think that's really it. Like I don't think I had a voice then. And it's now that I'm starting to recognize like, yo, I have a voice. Now it's a matter of how do you trust in your voice and share it. Because I didn't always trust it. And sometimes I still don't. So, yeah.
So going off script a little bit. Because I talked about like, the transition of moving from Binghamton, but I don't really think that's it. What is the moment that you feel helped you to realize that you have a voice and even being comfortable hearing your voice? Like what was that moment for you?
I think there's several. Because again, I think because I'm still working through it, I don't know if I feel like I still have that definitive, like, yo, it was this time. But I feel like there's been several moments. One that immediately comes to mind was my first year as an RD and being part of the RA selection committee and doing the information sessions that students had to go to. I remember, each of us had slides we were responsible for. And when it became my turn to speak and do my slides, I never forget. I got in front of the room, in front of all the students, and all my colleagues were behind me, and I start going into the slides, right? And I'm going over the steps they have to go through for the process of applying. So I'm like, so I'm gonna go over the steps, blah, blah, blah. So the first steps is you have to actually attend an info session, and that's what y'all are here doing right now. So why don't y'all give yourselves a round of applause for completing the first step? And the whole room just starts clapping. And I was just like, that's kind of cool. And I followed that up with, I just wanted to see how much control you would let me have over you. So thank you for indulging me. And everybody started busted out laughing. So then was like, yo, that was a great feeling. Like, what if I could do this and like impart wisdom, share a story, motivate folks, inspire them and push them to just be a better version of themselves? What if I could do this? And that would be the end goal. And so I think that was one of the moments where I could say like, yo, I have a voice, I think another one that comes to mind is when I released my album about 2-3 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I think that's another one because I've written music and I've rapped for decades at this point, since I was in 7th grade, which I don't even know how old I was, probably 12, 13, however old anyone is in 7th grade. but I never shared any of it publicly. It was always shared amongst me and my friends, maybe a couple people that I knew here and there. And when I was in the process of recording that album, I realized how therapeutic it was for me. And when I shared it with some of the people that were close to me, they kept pushing. They were like, yo, you got to put this out there. Like, you have to share this. Like, this is I don't think they said gold, but I'm gonna say this is gold. And when I thought about it, I was like, damn, yeah, because I know I'm not the only one that feels this way. I'm not the only one that struggles with these experiences and emotions. And so, F it. I was like, F it. I don't know if I can curse on this. So
I think it's safe.
Okay. So I was like, yo, fuck it. I just got to do it. And sometimes that's what it takes. It takes for me to get to a point where I've had it, or I just say, yo, fuck it. Who cares what happens? Who cares what's the end result? Just do it. And so I think those are the first two experiences that immediately come to mind. And I know that, one's as a RD, because I say this to you all the time, I can't get away, and I can't go without acknowledging the fact that my 3 years as an RD and under your supervision and with your help, I've gotten to those points. I don't know that I would have gotten to any of those points without you having encouraged me, questioning me, probing, asking questions like you're doing now to really pull some of those things out, because I haven't learned yet entirely how to just freely give those out without being prodded or I don't like that word, but without being asked. So yeah, those are the moments I would say.
You don't feel like you're on a one-on-one right now, do you? It's okay if you do. I just thought about that. I'm like, this seems like a one-on-one.
So low key, yes, but low key, no. So low key, yes, because I feel like this is just who we are. This is what we do.
Yeah, it's true. Know what I mean? Yeah.
So, and low key, no, because I understand that, this is for others. So hopefully what I'm sharing is helping and motivating and push others, So.
I'm sure it is. I just wanted to check in on that.
Yeah, I love that. That was good.
So what would you say is your confidence factor? Like mine is being shawsome or being authentic. So what would you say is your confidence factor?
When you asked that initially before we started recording, there was one word that came to mind, and now there's like two. So I think one of them, the first one, is certainly empathy, because I noticed, and I think I realized empathy in like two phases. I think the first initial phase where it came up again is as a RD with you and one-on-ones, because I never forget. I don't remember the exact moment, but I know that on several occasions you have told me like, yo, when I talk to you, you make me feel like I'm the only person in the world right now, right? Like you're locked in on me. And so I feel like the only person that matters. And I was like, really? I'm just listening. Like, that's just who I am. So actually, I guess it's three words. One is empathy, but listening. My listening is a confidence factor, because I zone in. Like nothing else matters in that moment except the person that I'm engaged with, that I'm involved with, I'm conversing with. The other is empathy, because I feel like I'm able to really like hone in on people's emotions and like put myself where they are to try and really feel how they're feeling. And if not, try to ask questions, I realized that in our time working together, but I've also realized that during my time as an academic counselor, where I'll be working with a student, and it happened on several occasions, I never forget. I'm talking with a student and she's talking. And in my brain, I just hear this voice like, yo, what is the pain? What is the pain that you're holding on to? This is my voice, like trying to scream at them. So after they get done talking, I was like, I only got one question. And they were like, what? And I was like, what's the pain that you're holding on to? Waterworks. And ever since then, our relationship was like, they wanted to talk to me all the time. They wanted, and I was able to do that with a lot of students, to kind of just read into where they're at. I remember asking another student, how are you? And she's like, I'm okay. And I was like, all right, well, if you ever need to talk, my door's open. Just come on and sit down. And probably like 20 minutes later, she came, sat down, and like 15 minutes in, waterworks. And good waterworks, right? Like I'm not making them feel terrible, like terrible humans, but they're pouring themselves out. And so I feel like the listening and the empathy is a confidence factor. And I'll venture out and say that my authenticity, I'm working on building that one. Yeah. I'm working on building that one, but it's a work in progress. But I think that's also part of it, right? When I get into a zone where I'm just allowing myself to be, right? Like even right now, I'm just allowing myself to talk. I'm allowing myself to not think too much. That certainly is a confidence factor. And I never forget the time you told me, don't give me vanilla JQ.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Like that's a moment, what I'm saying, that has contributed to it. I've never forgotten that, even as I wear my chains inside still right now, right? But I remember that you saying, don't give me watered down vanilla JQ. I don't want that. You think anybody wants that? And I was like, dang.
Did I say all that?
Maybe. If not, that's what I heard.
Did.
In my mind, that's how you said it. You may not have said it like that, but that's how I heard it in my mind.
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
That's funny. So then, this is my last question.
Okay.
Pick a number between 1 and 33.
Oh, come on. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Do what? Just pick a number.
Yeah, that's hard for me, though. Between 1 and 33. My question is, why 33? But, oof. I can't pick 2. I can't
numbers?
pick 2. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Do I have to explain why?
Pick the numbers, and then I'll tell you. Yeah.
So the first one that immediately came up was 9.
Okay.
And then the second one was 22.
Cool.
Yeah.
So knowing what you now know, with the knowledge and the experience that you've gained, and even in the confidence that you now have and are still working to have, what would you tell your 9-year-old self? And then what would you tell your...
blew me out the water.
Well, that's why And then what would you tell your 22-year-old self, since you had to go and pick 2 numbers?
Man, you're going to make me cry, Leah. My 9-year-old self, I would tell... Wow, that's dope. That's fire. I would tell my 9-year-old self, it's going to be okay, man. Like, they don't understand you. They don't get you, but I get you. I get you. I understand you. It's funny because my therapist asked me that similar question one time. Yeah, that's why I'm like, yo, that's crazy. but yeah, I would tell him yo, it's all right. Like, people are not going to understand you. They're not going to get you, but I get you. And you just got to be yourself. You got to let yourself be, because you're going to feel more free. You're going to feel more free. And then my 22-year-old self, 22. What was I doing at 22? I think I was in grad school by that point. What would I tell 22 JQ? The first thing that comes to mind is just trust you're going in the right direction. I mean, I feel like at that point, there was a point in my life, and it probably was around there, where I wasn't thinking too much and I felt confident, right? Like I was gung-ho about being an EOP counselor. Like nobody could tell me nothing. Like that's what I was driven towards. That's what everything I did was about that, and that's kind of how that whole Success as a Lifestyle philosophy and program came to life. It's really from my experience as an undergrad, but then how my mind shifted into just building my entire lifestyle around that one goal, that one dream, And so, I tell my 22-year-old self, go ahead, bro, keep going. Like, this is, you're gonna be great. This is leading to greatness that you don't even see yet. That's a dope question. I like that.
Well, thank you.
That was great.
Well, that's my final question.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Wow, that's deep.
You did good.
That deep. Thank you. I try. I be trying. I'm decent at best, you know.
Well, before I let you go, let everybody know where they can find you, social media, and then like what projects are you working on? What should we be on the lookout for from you?
Oof. All right. So my website is www.successisalifestyle.com. That's where you can find speaking programs, contact information, testimonials for stuff that I've done before. You can find music videos on there as well. My social media handles are Josué JQ Quiñones. So that's my first name, Josue JQ Quiñones, and that's on everything: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And then as far as projects, I don't really know. I'm doing music. I know that's for sure. What's gonna come out at the end of it, I don't really know. But I'm definitely, I got music, and I'm looking forward to releasing that into the world and sharing my voice and see what kind of impact it has.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it when it comes out.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you again for doing this and for
thank you.
And giving me Shawsome. So, because I like, you were the first person to drop this idea of me being a coach. I never even put that together until I crossed paths with you. And so you kind of set a lot of things in motion because you helped me. Like you have always been a mirror for me in helping me to see myself the way I've always wanted to be seen and the way I always thought I was, but you gave me like the language for that and affirmed that for me. So you set a lot of this in motion. So thank you.
You're absolutely welcome, and I'm glad and honored to have been able to do that without even knowing that I was doing that. I think that's the beauty in it, you know. That's my confidence factor. There you go.
There you go. So that's it.
Well,
all right.
Thank you.
It's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for listening to The Confidence Factor. Be sure to check out my website at www.beshawesome or beshawsome.com. You can also check me out on Instagram at b.shawsome. As always, thank you to Golden Ox Studios for making this a reality week after week.